Well, welcome back to Indie Wrestling Q&A. I'm still here at the Sweet 16 with the winner of the Sweet 16, Shaun. It's been a while since we talked. Let's basically talk about your night tonight, where you've had some grueling matches, blood, and then a media.
Well, with the opener, with the Hellcats and TJ, I was kept out of that match pretty much the whole time. Just getting beat up the whole time, kept out of the ring. So, a lot of people may question why I decided to pin TJ in that match. I'm a former tournament winner. I saw an opportunity and I took it. When you move on to blood, unfortunately, we had a little bit of a mishap and I got busted open in that match. So, for those in the know about Maryland wrestling, you may know why that match was a little bit rushed. But for those that don't, the Maryland State Athletic Commission does not approve blood by any means. Not the wrestler, but the actual red stuff that comes out of you when you're cut. So unfortunately, I had to kind of kick it in overdrive because they were going to end that match. So what I had to do was, I saw him going to the top rope. He was ready to squash me. So I moved out of the way. I took care of business like I can. I wish I could have gave him the better fight that he deserves, but yeah, I got lucky. And then when we move into Michaels Amadio, I was given the option not to wrestle that match by the commission because I do have a gash on the forehead right now. I'm going to have to go to the emergency room to see what they could do about it. Luckily, the bandages have held, luckily. But we got to that match, and the same thing ended up happening. I ended up busting him open, above his eyebrow. So he was trying to end the match just as quickly as I did with blood, but again, quick on my feet, I end up hitting the pedigree for the finish. But I wasn't happy with the win. I wasn't happy with it. I didn't want to win that way. I wanted a contest tonight. I wanted a fight. I really wanted to go in there and just scrap it out with a bunch of guys. And I feel like I got robbed of that. And I feel like Michaels Amadio got robbed of that. That kid's got a lot of potential, and that's why, luckily, due to Jim Christian understanding the situation, is going to give us a rematch for the finals of the Sweet 16 tournament on May 31st at the start of that show. So, you said at the top of this, I'm the 2014 Sweet 16 winner. I don't feel that way. I feel like that's going to be decided on May 31st. I'll still hold on to the tag of 2013, but I'm leaving that 2014 question.
So, what's been some of your other most physical matches you've had in your wrestling career?
Well, a lot of people know about the matches with the Hellcats that I've had. Those have been wars. Same thing with the matches with Wes Mercer. But I would say probably the most physical match that I've ever been involved in was against Jimmy Stars at Evolution last year. Jimmy and I took each other to a limit that both of us didn't know we could go to. Maybe he knew he could go to that level, I didn't. And it was that match where I kind of realized that I am better than I give myself credit for. So that was why I started to try and work my way up the ladder, so to speak, and just do better overall. So I would say that was probably the most physical match I've ever wrestled in the 6 years that I've been wrestling.
So you've been in some factions, you've been in sports management, you've been in the winners. How do you like being in some of these big factions that are growing?
Well, it's weird for me. I'm usually a standalone guy. I usually don't try and associate with a lot of people because I don't feel like I can rely on a lot of people. I don't feel like I can trust a lot of people. So when sports management first started, it was originally just me and Brent and Drew. And I was fine with that, 2 managers, and that's fine. Then Chris Burns got added to the mix, and I was fine with that because I knew Chris Burns, we trained together. Then you introduce Zach Matthews, then you introduce Shaun, and then it seemed to just get really big really quickly, and it was a little bit overwhelming, and I guess we were a little power hungry. We were on top of this company, we were doing pretty much whatever we wanted, and it cost us in the very end. We lost our match, and we had to disband. We paid for it. And the winners is an interesting situation because it's a bunch of guys that I don't know that well. Louis G. Rich I've known for a couple of years. Rayburn, still pretty new, so I don't know him that well. And Andy Weinberg I haven't known that long. But, Andy Weinberg knows what he's doing. He's a guy who's been around for a very long time. He's got great advice, and he's led us to some great things. It's a shame that Louis G. Rich couldn't win the King of Maryland tournament, and it's a shame Rayburn couldn't win that title, but he took Kindred to the limit that night. And Louis G. Rich took Skull to the limit that night. Skull, the former King of Maryland, he went to the finals. So, it's interesting being in a group dynamic. But I don't know if it's for me, forever at least. The winners works, but I don't know how long it's going to last.
So how do you feel that you get to wrestle Jake the Snake at the next ACW show?
I'm looking forward to it. You know, like as much of as adapting to this group dynamic as I am. You know, who knows? Maybe I'll get used to it, and maybe I'll fall in love with it just like the other guys have. I'm still a little weary of it, but that's just because of who I am. But this opportunity where the winners get to take on Jake the Snake Roberts, I mean, how often in your career can you say you're going to wrestle a WWE Hall of Famer? You know, there's only a handful of them that still wrestle on the circuit. So I get my chance to get my hands on a Hall of Famer, and when the winners beat Jake Roberts in that ring, we're made men in this state. I think if we do win that match, I'll feel better about a group dynamic than I have been. Let's put it that way.
So, I see out in Groundbreaking Wrestling, you and Trent Farrell got as a tag team up in Groundbreaking Wrestling. How do you like working as a tag team with Trent Farrell?
It's different, very different, because we have very conflicting styles, and Trent Farrell and I have gone through a lot of wars with each other here in the state of Maryland. So teaming with him up there is a very different experience than teaming with somebody like Chris Burns or Ray Burton. It's something very new, because even though we do have conflicting styles, there are some similarities between the two of us character-wise. You know, his personality and my personality, they don't clash like many other people that I'm teamed with do. So I find it intriguing every time we go up there. I definitely do look forward to each match as they come, because I feel like it's always going to be a new experience.
So how does it feel being heel in one federation, face in one federation? What would you rather prefer, being the heel or the face?
Well, personally, I don't feel like either of those really apply to me, and that's because the fans themselves, I give them the option to like me. I give them the option to hate me. When I came out tonight, there were some boos and there were some cheers. I'm fine with whatever the fans want to do. If you don't like the way my gear looks, if you don't like the way I paint my nails, if you don't like the way I wear my stupid hair, if you don't like the way I don't shave or do shave, or anything you don't like about me, please feel free to boo. It's not going to bother me, because you're noticing me and you don't like what I stand for. That's fine. I stand against the grain. I'm fine with that. But when I go somewhere else and the people cheer me, I feel like they can respect my individuality and respect who I am, and I do appreciate that. But I mean, I guess I prefer that negativity. I prefer the boos, mostly because I feed off of that. I'm a guy who's always been told he can't do something and told that he doesn't belong. So when I go in a place and everybody just looks at me and immediately just throws me aside and say, this guy's not worth it, I feed off of that, because then I go to prove them wrong even more than I would if they were cheering my name.
So, outside your gash tonight, what has been some of your other injuries in your wrestling career?
One match I had with Wes Mercer, I nearly dislocated my elbow. Early on in training, I chipped about 4 teeth, and wrestling Trent Farrell, I did bust open my lip once. I did have to require stitches for that. I think the worst injury, though, I received in training, I was actually training with Jimmy Stars about 5 years ago, and my left knee popped out of the socket while we were training. I popped it back in, we kept going. It kept hurting for a while. I went and saw a doctor about it, and they didn't quite know what was wrong, so I had to spend about a month and a half in and out of emergency rooms getting x-rays and MRIs for them to determine what the problem was. Eventually everything was resolved, but there was a good period where I could not bend my leg more than, obviously I couldn't even do a 90-degree angle. I could barely walk. It was like I had a peg leg, basically. That was the worst injury I've had, besides this.
So when you first debuted, you came out to Rise Against. Now you come out to 3 Days Grace, Chalk Outline. Describe how that song relates to your...
Well, the song itself, one, the opening guitar lines are very catchy. It gets in your head, it goes in you. Most people, when they leave at the end of the night, the one thing they do remember is that sound that just gets to you. The song itself, to me, what it represents is that everybody has already cast me aside. Nobody really sees me as a contender in the state of Maryland wrestling. Whenever there's discussions of the greatest and the best, you hear names like Ryan McBride, you hear names like Christian Wood. Now you're hearing names like Prodigy and Kindred and Metropolis. My name is usually never brought up into that discussion. I feel maybe I haven't earned it yet, but I'm definitely going to get up there within the next year or so. So that song is basically representative about how every fan is pretty much just already, cast me aside. They see me as that chalk outline. It's like, this guy's already a casualty of the business. He's never going to make it anywhere other than the places he's already been. And I use that kind of to throw it in people's faces, like, no, that's not what I'm going to do. This song represents what you feel, and then I'm going to go above that. So it amps me up because I hear it and I just hear all the fans' negativity. So that brings my adrenaline level up. So when I go in there, it kicks in.
That kind of relates to Steve Diaz. The last interview I did with him, he feels that he's like the same way, that he doesn't get looked at as a top-notch wrestler in the Maryland business today. So is WWE. They're doing Daniel Bryan the same way. In my opinion, I feel like they should give everybody a chance.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm going to say that because I'd love to have an opportunity and a chance, but you always see the prototypical guys in the top spots, and to me, that's boring. That's why I want to be different. That's why I dress the way I dress and act the way I act and talk the way I talk, because I want to be that guy that stands out among all the rest, because I feel like there's more people in the world like me, not necessarily the same way, but that think on a different level and want to see somebody like that on top because it's representative of them. You know, everybody, you know, will say, well, I want The Rock to be the top guy because, you know, he's Samoan and I'm Samoan, and, you know, that's family heritage. And so I want Randy Orton to win because, you know, I was in the Marines too and I quit. So, you know, so somebody who thought that they found their life's path and then they, you know, got rid of it, they can still make something of themselves. Or guys like Johnson, or, you know, anybody who ever made it to the top. There's always somebody who feels like they can relate to it. And I know there's got to be somebody, at least one person out there, that can relate to what I stand for.
Now I asked you, I know I asked Diaz this before. I know I've been watching a lot of NXT, and they're like the independent wrestling of WWE. Is there any wrestlers with NXT that you could see having a match with?
I really like Tyler Breeze. I like everything that Tyler Breeze is about. I love the fact that he takes so much pride in his appearance, and he implements that to his style. I definitely think I could do something really cool with Tyler Breeze. And, you know, I'm not going to be this guy that's like, oh, I could do something with Sami Zayn or Bo Dallas. I'm not going to pick any of those top guys because, you know, anybody can have a match with a big guy because those guys earn their spot because they can pretty much work with anybody and make it look like $1 million. I like to work with people that maybe don't get a lot of credit. So maybe like an Xavier Woods or maybe even CJ Parker. I could see those going pretty well.
So outside of wrestling, what do you like to do for some hobbies?
Well, unfortunately, the wrestling business pretty much takes all of my time up between just training and studying for future matches and studying my future opponents and being in the gym constantly and trying to improve my physique and then the diet and all that. You know, I try to play video games when I can. I try and watch TV when I can. I'm a huge Modern Family guy. I like Lost, Breaking Bad, you know, a lot of the TV shows everybody find popular, but, you know, I rarely get a moment to myself, so when I do, it's either reading a comic book or watching a movie or, I don't know, just a couple moments to myself.
I don't know if this is a personal question to you, but I knew you put up 2014 was going to be the building year. Why did you choose 2014 to be your building year?
Well, it kind of worked on multiple levels. I've been in the business now for 6 years. 2014, also an even number. I figured those two in a combination definitely works, but I feel it now I've really grasped the point of the wrestling business. I wouldn't say I understand everything, because when you say you understand everything in this business, you really understand nothing. I feel like I'm coming along much more than I have in previous years. So, to combat, or to combine the knowledge I'm getting up here, I need to branch out here. So I wanted to give myself a full calendar year to bulk up as much as possible, to get as fit as possible, to get as best as I could, both physically and mentally, for this business. And I picked this year because I'm not going to wait till 2015. I'm not going to wait till 2016. Tomorrow's not a guarantee. The way I've been thinking over the past year at the end of 2013 is, you know, I don't let things bother me. I don't let things get to me. And, you know, I'm disappointed about the things that happened tonight, but I'll probably be over it tomorrow. But that makes me strive to want to make things better for the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So I'm going to do it all this year, and then every year after. So I figured, why not start now?
I don't know if I asked you this, but if they ever made a movie about your wrestling career and just you as simple, who could play Shaun Cannon, and what would the title be?
I think you did ask this for me and Burns last time when we said us. That's a stupid answer because I don't think anyone would want to watch a movie starring us about us, because that's a little egotistical. Which I guess I am to some extent. I would like to see a guy like Aaron Paul play me. mostly because I've seen him with a similar hairstyle, so I could see that kind of working. That, or maybe Garrett Hedlund, who starred in Tron Legacy. I could see him doing it. And I would just call it All-Star. That's what it would be. That's just a simple title.
So where can we find more information on Shaun Cannon?
Oh, I'm all over the internet. Twitter, I'm on Shaun Cannon, S-H-A-U-N, because no one seems to be able to spell that right. C-A-N-N-O-N, all one word. Facebook, I'm on there, Shaun Cannon, same spelling. Me and a former wrestler, now turned hip-hop artist, I guess you could say, Brett Pfeiffer. He and I have a podcast that we do. It's on iTunes. You can find it, The Podyssey, P-O-D-Y-S-S-E-Y. I talk about wrestling stuff on there and everything going on with me on a weekly basis. There's also a Tumblr, thepodysseypodcast.tumblr.com, and there's a like page on Facebook. So there, and YouTube, The Shaun Cannon. There's pretty much no way you can't find me. I'm on Instagram, I think, under The Shaun Cannon too. So I'm pretty much all over the internet. Can't get rid of me.
So basically, I'm going to say that I've been a fan of Shaun Cannon since day one. I've looked at him like a role model, followed kind of like the CM Punk style. I like CM Punk, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. Diaz gave me a compliment saying that I always come out, support the business, promote. I don't get that from often that many wrestlers. And I do appreciate the wrestling that we have today. So basically, you follow me on Facebook.com, Indie Wrestling QA, YouTube, Indie Wrestling Q&A. I don't really post anything on Twitter, but I'll read the posts. That's basically it. I'm not really new on Insta. I'm new on Instagram. Do you have any new merchandise?
Well, I've got some t-shirts in the works. Some people have seen the Shaun Cannon t-shirt, witty catchphrase shirts. I'm trying to get those kind of produced. We might see some more Punk Rock All-Star shirts in the future. We're trying to work on maybe hats and stuff like that. One real quick thing. Yeah, Diaz is absolutely right. You do support the local independent promotions. You try to promote as much as possible. You did for our Sweet 16. You do for pretty much every show you go to. And I see a lot of people that give him negativity online because no one watches your videos or anything like that, and that's not true. You get views on your stuff, and as negative as people want to be, the message, and they may never see this, but if they do, the one thing that I want to say to every single person that bashes this guy is very simple. He had the balls to ask any wrestler if they would be involved in his product, and wrestlers said yes. Because one, it's promotion for them, but two, because they can see that he has a passion for it. So for anybody that doesn't have the balls to stand up, pick up a camera, put themselves out there, and put all their stuff on the internet, I mean, you do your DVD reviews, you do a lot of stuff. There are a lot of people who always say, I should have a TV show, I should have this, I should have that. All you do is you sit there, you type negativity on the internet, and you sit there and you wonder, why me? This guy actually gets out there and does it. So for any of you who trash him, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, he's doing it right, I'm doing it right.
Like, for a good example, when I was asked to do the Andy Weinberg Winners program, coming out and actually revealing to people that I have depression and that I feel like I'm a loser, it was hard. But coming out with wrestlers that I'm familiar with, Shaun Cannon, Louis G. Rich, he's a real goofy guy, so I kind of really got used to it. And I like doing it. I mean, I don't mind playing like a trailer park trash loser, or whatever they call it, winner, and being just acting like an asshole. But that's just, I've never been into drama in high school. But I really hate negativity. I told this guy on Facebook, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a Maryland wrestler, that I hate negativity on Facebook. He deleted me. I don't care. So if you don't like my videos, please don't watch them. I'm not going to quit just because somebody says my videos are mediocre.
You should. If this is what you want to do, this is what you want to do.
I know I can never see myself in the wrestling ring. I know I was invited in the wrestling ring last time, and I just don't trust EWA security with my weight and getting in the ring with just little kids. I just don't feel comfortable with that. It's just kind of weird getting in the ring with little kids and celebrating a birthday. I hope Jim Christian does not watch that. I'm not trashing his federation.
You're just a little bit too old to celebrate your birthday.
I like to put negativity. I like to put negative stuff on Facebook, and people criticize and say, I think you did it one time about me trashing the Daniel Bryan Triple H storyline. I was getting tired, and you said, well, why don't you get the plot. You know, why don't you just wait until the plot develops?
And what happened? It's developed.
It's
Now
developed,
working.
and now it's just like everyone knew that was going to happen.
Patience is a
But
virtue.
I'm just very impatient,
Yes, yes.
and when I go out to a concert, I listen. I don't listen to many I listen to heavy metal. If you don't like heavy metal, I'm sorry. If you don't like horror movies, that's just me. But I'm just an average guy, just doing what I like to do. I've been following pro wrestling since I was a child, and when I started getting to the indie wrestling scene, I could finally see indie wrestling needs promotion, and I developed it. So basically, that's just me. Indie wrestling Q&A, I don't care if it goes WWE, Global, or NXT. I know I'm never going to get signed anywhere, but that's just me. So, thanks again for Shaun Cannon. I'd like to thank you for the second time. Basically, that's the end of my video. If you don't like my videos, please do not watch them. Sorry if I sound like an asshole, but I just have to. So it's the end of, this is the end of Indie Wrestling Q&A. Check me out at ACW Chaos in Carroll County, Part 2, or possibly I get a Matt Hardy interview, because I know Jimmy Dream does help me get interviews. That's probably the only wrestling promoter that helps me get interviews. So other than that, have a good night.